How you doing? My name is Steven Sanchez. I'm an IRB specialist. I'm here with Brittany Eastwood. She's also an IRB specialist. We also have in the room our IRB administrator, Richard. Today, we're pretty much going to give a breakdown of what we do and what we deal with and what we'll be reviewing and determining with your projects that you would submit to us. And we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, so does anyone or has anyone heard of the IRB? Yes. Okay. So the IRB, which stands for the Institutional Review Board, is a committee that represents various research disciplines that oversee all research involving human subjects that can be conducted by faculty, students, or staff who might use any university property or non-public information to contact human research subjects. So federal law requires that an IRB be established to review all students and to review all studies that involve human subjects, whether it's both funded federally or non-federally or unfunded protocols. So the IRB has different roles and responsibilities. The IRB can review, approve, disapprove, suspend, request modifications, and or terminate submitted studies. Has anyone heard of the Belmont report before? It's like, Richard. If you heard of it, you can thumbs up online. If not, that's fine. So the Belmont report is a set of ethical principles and guidelines for protecting human subject research participants, ultimately to safeguard safety for human participants volunteering for research projects conducted by students, staff, or faculty. We want to ensure research is being conducted in an ethical manner and to process any study submissions through expedited, exempt, or full board review.
Okay, question is, does everybody know what research is? Thumbs up online if y'all do. Okay. For the ones that don't know, it's a systematic investigation, including research, development, testing, and evaluation designed to develop and contribute generalizable knowledge. What is human subject research? Can someone give me a definition, like what they think, what their version of it is? Correct. Anything else? Anyone? Okay. It is correct. Living individual about whom an investigator conducting research obtains information or biospecimens through an intervention or interaction, or uses studies, analyzes, or generates identifiable private information or biospecimens.
So I mentioned it briefly before, but can someone tell me the 3 levels that IRB can determine for a project? It's 3 different levels. If not, that's fine. So it's either exempt, expedited, or full board. A request for exemption may always be submitted if the study falls in one of the 8 allotted categories that are defined by federal regulations. We have expedited, which proposals may be assigned for expedited review if they meet the criteria defined in the federal regulations again. It also has no greater than minimum risk. So minimal risk is not greater in and of itself than that ordinary encounter in daily life or during routine physical or psychological examinations or tests. Full board is when it is involving higher than minimal risk that will be reviewed by the IRB convened meeting committee. It involves people such as prisoners, populations that will immediately go to full board, even if it is minimal risk. So again, risk is the probability and magnitude of harm or discomfort anticipated in the research.
And as you all can see, this is a step and process, when we, how we review the projects that we receive. When you submit projects, we, would like to reiterate the fact that when you get the forms you're just gonna submit, make sure you read thoroughly and fill everything complete. If it doesn't apply, put NA. If your project or anyone submits a project, think that it's not, or question if it is research, submit it anyways. That way you can really determine if it is or not, better be safe than sorry. You know, I mean, doesn't hurt to ask, so.
So one of the many essential documents that PIs would submit for IRB net would be informed consent, which is very key. It is the purpose, risk, and benefits and alternatives that your participants will be reading that are part of your study that you want to do. It should be precise and focused in a manner that they should be able to understand what is being asked of them.
The vulnerable population and special classes, these are the ones that would signify what category will fall under as far as what our determination is. There will be pregnant women, human with or human fetuses and neonates, prisoners, children, cognitively impaired students and employees, minorities, economically and or educationally disadvantaged, AIDS, HIV subjects, or terminally ill subjects. Yes. No, go ahead.
Can we go back to the other slide? Students and employees are classified as vulnerable populations.
Yes.
So if I am a student and my research requires that maybe a survey or interview other students, they are considered vulnerable population.
Yes, because they're going to require informed consent, regardless of what the project is going to be conducted. That is for them to know and for us to know by the project that is being conducted. So if like if the project they're going to conduct is in regards to like economically or social or educationally disadvantaged or even social disadvantaged, the way they the way we would determine it is by what they fall under. If they fall under that and the PI requires that individual, then that's why.
So for the informed consent, parent permission, or child consent, we request appropriate language at an 8th grade level so that they should be able to understand what is being asked of them. It needs to outline what is involved, emphasize the voluntary nature of the study, and the opportunity for the child to ask questions and understand the purpose of the research. Consent or assent processes must be fully described and justified in the protocol and research plan. So informed consent is for the ages 18 and older. Assent, child assent is between ages 7 and 17 with parents' permission. This is also based on risk. In your protocol, if you are not sure if you need child assent, you can just submit your protocol. We can review it as the IRB, and then we can request if a child assent or determine if a child assent or an informed consent is needed.
Confidentiality and data protection. Federal laws such as HIPAA and FERPA protect the disclosure of individually identifiable health, educational, and economic information. Protections should be developed consistent with the study design and the potential risk of harm from breaches of confidentiality. And this right here, you want to know the difference between confidentiality and anonymous. You know, anonymous, whether it's on the protocols when you submit them, will determine if you're going to be interacting with subhuman subjects or you're going to be face-to-face, any type of interaction. The confidentiality is in the process of how you will record the information, depending on their information that's asked, name. If you start going like that, then yes, that's when you won't be confident because you're asking for the information, stuff like that. Also, based on how you will store the information as well, is how we will determine that. .
So some things that PIs forget to do is that they don't submit or obtain IRB review. This is happening when PIs are not sure if their study is under exempt, expedited, or full board, or if it's considered research. Again, as we mentioned, it is just best to submit it to IRB net and for us to determine. If it's not research, we will give you a determination letter saying that it is not research. So that way, if anyone asks, you can just provide them that letter. So assuming research is not human subject research and then not submitting for IRB review, it's also not allowing adequate time for IRB review. We'll go over the time allotted for each exempt, expedited, and full board, and then the possible coercion and undue influence. So we have 2 hats, extra credit and compensation. For example, if we had a PI that was working at UMC and is doing a study at UMC, that would be considered 2 hats. As a PI, you would have to go through someone else to obtain medical records. You could not abuse your status as an employee as at UMC. Extra credit would be kind of influencing. And compensation, if you stated in your protocol, if you have 2 different steps, if you're giving the higher amount first to persuade them to complete the second one, or an overall amount that does not make sense, or equal to the amount that they are doing in the protocol or in the project.
How do you determine if the amount is reasonable or not?
Well, that really is determined on the population. So if the majority of the population or the entire population are, say, doctors, well, they get paid a little bit higher than anybody else. So a higher compensation would be considered all right for them. But let's say it was like a economically disadvantaged population. Naturally, if we were offering like $50 for 5 minutes, well, that's coercive. You know, you just fill out a survey for 5 minutes, you get $50. That's been much. So we kind of use in the office a maximum hourly rate of $25. And as long as it's not more than that, or if the population warrants going a little above that, then we can make that determination at that time. But yeah, that's pretty much the standard that we use to make sure that if the compensation that's being given is equitable.
So it's possible that I can submit an IRB application, state an amount for compensation, and then IRB will revise it and say, oh, it's too much, consider giving this amount instead.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
These are the PI roles and responsibilities. Assurance of safe and ethical study conduct by self and through supervision of study term. Compliance of human subjects and research training for self and all study team members. Follow through on IRB submissions, initial, continuing review, biennial verification, amendments, modifications, and study closure. Acquisition of proper letters of collaboration to include other IRB approvals, site affiliates, and letters of cooperation, and proper use of IRB approved and stamped documents.
So tips for navigating an IRB submission, we have first our training. So we do our training through city program. We recommend 3 different types of training. The main one we recommend is social behavior researchers. We recommend for all PIs and any additional study personnel that they are going to use for their project to finish and complete their training prior to submitting to IRB net. The reason that we do this is that if you are not completing the training and you have submitted your protocol, we cannot approve it until your training has been completed, especially if you are interacting with human subjects. So IRB review may take longer than anticipated, so you do have to allow for adequate time for preparation review, and that it's also conducting research with an outside institution as well.
Does anybody have questions? Go ahead. That's fine.
So it's more like kind of narrow to what I have. My experience is not very general question. Your presentation stated that some of the research is exempt.
Yes.
So I did a title study during the summer and I bought an exempt. So I went through the process and the response was it's exempt, so I could go on. The sample size was very small, 7 people I was interviewing. And now I'm trying to extend that research, but it may include more participants. And it's possible that I may have to do some classroom observation and education data. I would like to ask, do I have to submit a completely new IRB or I can do amendments to include the changes?
Well, for that one, since you started it out as a pilot, you can submit an amendment to include the the new structure of the study that you want to do. Now, with the additional things that you're putting in your project, there might be a possibility that the level of risk changes. If that is the case, then we'll go ahead and send it back for revisions and let you know that this level is basically what you're asking here, or the information that you're collecting, or how you're doing it makes this an expedited level or a full board, depending on the amount of risk. And if you want to keep your project at the lower level, at the exempt, then you would need to do this, and this. If you're fine with the level of review that what you propose is going to get, then you don't really have to change it. But that will take a little more time. And so, yeah, you can do it with that amendment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And what's the process of submitting an amendment?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That's something we will go into a little bit after. We'd like to go to our website to let you see the different areas.
Okay, are there any questions online for the people that are with us online?
Not yet, but I keep on tracking your chat for you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have our point of contact. We do have our phone numbers, our emails, and you can also find us at Kelly Hall, room 423 and 424 for Richard. So if you have any questions, you can also search us on our research and innovation and then find IRB, and it'll take you guys to our website through there, or you can call us and then we can answer any questions you have.
You want to talk about it? Oh, okay, so these are the IRB timelines. Exempt takes between 7 and 14 business days. That will just determine if, once we know look over it and see if you have any revisions. Expedited takes 2 to 6 weeks in business days. Same thing, because once the project is determined and expedited, we submit it to reviewers, our IRB committee reviewers, and they will send us back revisions that we will send back to the PI and go from there. And then full board, that just varies, reviewed monthly at a convened meeting. From there, whether they determine there's are gonna be revisions, or if they consider it good to go, then we'll go from there as well. This is for the new continuing review and amendments.
The IRB committee does convene once a month during the middle of the month. So for November, we will be meeting at the 12th. So if you plan on submitting a study that will be full board, we recommend to submit it before the 12th. That way we can review it and the IRB committee can review it on the time that they're meeting.
Research in K-12 settings. Research conducted in the public school or in private schools must receive approval from both the UTEP IRB and the school district administration. District requirements to include research activities may differ. Like, what was it? We had a project that was for EPISD.
Yes, so depending on the school districts, if it's EPISD, YSD, check with their guidelines on how they would do research. EPISD used to not allow research on children, but they have now allowed certain restrictions. So you cannot video or audio record the children there, but you can make field notes or observations, of course. You do have to get permission from the school district first. Once they give you permission, you can go to the principal, and then the principal can also give you a letter that they are allowing you to do research with a specific teacher, a specific grade, and not on their children as well. If you are doing it at a school, but only doing it on the teachers, you will just, again, do the same process. But again, you will only need an informed consent for the teachers and not a child assent for the children. It just depends on what you're going to be observing and what you're going to be studying on.
International research. Human research conducted internationally is subject to the same ethical guidelines and regulations as research conducted within the United States. Local and international approvals are required. No IRB.
So it depends. We just met with a PI who will be doing some studies in Spain or in Mexico. They do not consider in those countries the need of IRB approval, and it is kind of hard to get some documents signed that we will need. We will work with you as a PI to determine what we need and what we can get. So it just depends. If UTEP is the home institution, that is okay. We will work with you guys. If it comes to that, if Spain or Mexico is the home institution, you will have to follow the processes of whether the place, if it's let's say a homeless shelter or a drug shelter, you would just follow the protocols that they need put in place and then send the documents to UTEP. It just depends on where you're going to be doing your study at.
Yes.
But if I can just clarify, make sure I'm understanding. So if I'm doing research, I'm a UTEP student doing research internationally. Let's say I'm going to go into Juarez to study the community there. I need approval from UTEP's IRB, and I may need approval from the city or from the institution in Mexico as well. But I definitely need my institutional IRB approval first.
Correct.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
If the other institution, the other country doesn't really have like an IRB,
Mhm.
will the documents that the institution gives you be equal to an IRB from them? If they don't have an IRB process?
Well, if they don't have an IRB process or an ethics board or equivalent, then, I would think that, the only documents you would be getting from them would be, like a, site authorization letter saying that you could, perform research, on their campus or in this building or whatever the case might be there. Which is a very necessary part of your project. because we have to know that, if you're doing research, on a site outside of, UTEP, doesn't matter if it's, out in, El Paso, somewhere else, or in another country, we have to know that, those responsible for the site knows that you're wanting to do research there, and they'll allow it. So, there are actual, written requirements that are housed in the, Health and Human Services, website. It's regional, so, Latin America and South America will have their own book. Asia will have their own book. Europe will have their own book. Africa will have their own book. Australasia, which, Australia, New Zealand, all those, countries in that area will have their own book. So the known requirements for each country are actually published in those books. But, if it's not in those books and the institution, doesn't have a board, per se, for ethics or anything like that, then the requirements at UTEP, would supersede everything else.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Before we show you our website or where to find us?
Two just popped up. Great. Would research on UTEP students be exempt or expedited?
It depends.
Depends.
That's the answer to every question that you might ask. But, it really has to do with what you're, researching, how you're going to research it, the questions you're going to ask, the information you're gonna collect. Is it, risky? All those factors would go into the exempt or expedited determination.
But if I'm understanding correctly, essentially the students don't necessarily worry about what category they're gonna fall into. They put together the package and then you tell them you're exempt, you're expedited. You all figure out what category they fall in.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a quick follow-up. What does the IRB consider as risk when you are doing this research?
That is, on a previous slide, but, basically with risk, we're looking at, whether something is minimal risk, less than minimal risk, or greater than minimal. Minimal risk is, something that you would encounter on a regular basis or a daily basis. That would include a routine doctor's visit or diagnostic, exam, psychological, exams, to a certain point. Things like getting your, blood drawn, and, other activities, that you would do medically, those would normally fall under minimal risk. So as long as it's, and not to mention, not only are there the physical risks involved, but we have psychological risks also. So as long as something isn't, more than like a mild annoyance, or if something won't have, or shouldn't have lasting effect on an individual, then that would be considered, minimal risk also.
So can I give an example of the situation to help me analyze it? I'm studying classroom dynamics. I can't be there personally to take notes, fill notes. So I use maybe a camera to kind of record what is going on in the day so I can kind of analyze it. Because students are not usually taped when they're in class, and they are going to be taped for this research, is it risk or not?
Yes.
It is. And it's above minimal risk.
Well, there are steps that you can take to minimize that risk, such as blurring out faces. You know, editing. If you were to use that footage as part of a presentation, then, you know, you would have to edit out any mention of the children's names, blur out their faces, take steps in order to protect the identity of anyone that's on the video. So that is one of the things that you can do to minimize that risk, to bring it down to minimal. Now there are other things that might need to be considered depending on where you're going to be doing this. But as long as the authorities of the school allow that, then we wouldn't have any problem with reporting, as long as steps were taken to minimize the risk involved.
Thank you.
Yes, and then the other question was, will a review meeting be held for December?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly when? TBD.
Yes, we will determine that in our November meeting. Any other questions?
Yes, I wanted to go back to the international, and I might have missed some detail here, because it looks like it's a very elaborate, process, right? So if I identify the institution or organization that I'm going to do my research across borders, do I need to get authorization from them before submitting my IRB to you, or do I need your authorization first before? How does that process look like?
Again, with the other question that was asked, the first thing I'll have to say is it depends. Now, if normally we want to see at least an acknowledgement on the part of the site that they are aware that you want to do research there, and they will allow it. That is usually not too difficult to get. And if, push comes to shove, we'll even accept an email from their official email account instead of letterhead, or if that has to happen, we'll accept it. So as long as you have that kind of documentation, we feel comfortable in knowing that the other site is aware of what's going on. And so then there are some districts that require UTEP approval before you can get approval with them. And in that case, a letter of cooperation from whatever site you're going through, that will go along approved at UTEP, so then you can get approved at the other site.
One question has popped up. Do we need a site letter from UTEP if the research is conducted at UTEP?
No.
Simple answer.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Any other questions?
The seconds of silence means we can move.
Okay. Click stop sharing for now. Oh. Okay. Let's see. No. Okay, so where you can find us, you can search UTEP research and innovation. Gonna be this first link. We did recently update website, so it does look differently than what you are probably used to. So where you can find us is you go to where it says go to on the right hand side. You just go to where it says research compliance and regulatory assurances. It's going to be human subject research IRB. It will take you to our website where we have the information for IRB, the steps before approval, the steps after approval, and then resources. So you can go to dash and then you can click city training. It will go ahead and show you how to get to city training and then register under UTEP affiliation. If you have any problems, you can let us know. We can help you out, or we'll direct you to contact city training for that. It also directs you to IRBnet. IRBnet is what we have PIs use to submit any documents, protocol, informed consent. That is also where we're going to review your study and then give you notes on for revisions and a determination as well. We also have forms. This is where you're going to find any forms that are going to be used for your study. The main ones are going to be, of course, informed consent, the research protocol, project status report. If you want to continue your study, if it's coming close to an expiration date, you would submit a project status report. If you are planning on changing anything, rather if it's just adding an additional study personnel, or if it's a room number, or again, like you mentioned with your project, adding different questions or something like that, you can submit an amendment or modification. And any necessary, if you are adding additional personnel, we recommend an updated protocol with the additional personnel in the protocol. That way, if it is expedited, we can stamp it. If it's exempt, we can acknowledge that you did update your protocol. We also have advertisement templates. We do have a specific template that we want our PIs to follow if they're going to be advertising, whether it's in person, posted it online through social media. We don't want it exactly how it looks. You can design it however, but we do require and recommend the information that is included in the template to be included in your advertisement. If you also have any questions, you can design your advertisement, submit it, and then we can ask for revisions if needed for your advertisement. This is also where you can find a letter of collaboration. We recommend to use these documents because it does have a UTEP logo on it. So that's why we recommend our PIs. We also recommend the PIs to use the most recent and updated versions of our documents because we do update and we do ask additional questions that we haven't in previous versions.
Now let's go over the one catch
Yes,
on this page.
it is the
And
old one.
there is a note at the top, but all these forms, except for the ones at the very, very, very bottom of the page, are hosted on IRBnet. So in order to access them, you will have to be signed in to IRBnet. And in many cases, the only way you can, you'll have to register for IRBnet before you can have access to it. So, that would be, the first step, to, create an account in IRB net so you can access the, forms.
Yes. Okay. So back. So if we go to this area, if you are not sure what training you need to do, you would just go to our training section on our website. It mentions nursing, pharmacy, and allied health researchers. Social behavior researchers, that's the one we recommend to have. And then, of course, for IRB members, we only require this one. It does give you the city's registration steps. So it does give you pictures on how to register and sign up for yourself and for any additional study personnel.
Go back to, before approval. Go through IRB registration.
Yeah, here as well is where it show you step by step on how to, when you log into IRBNet, how to register yourself. If you do still have questions in those processes, you can reach out to us and we will be able to help you.
So when it asks search for an organization, you will search El Paso and it should pop up University of Texas at El Paso. That way you can register under the affiliation of UTEP, and that way we can also see your documents and studying protocol. Okay. After approval.
If you are doing modifications of any sort, whether it be personnel, increasing number of participants or whatnot, and stuff like that, you would submit an amendment modification. And then from there, we would give you with send an acknowledgement, or if it's a big extensive change it to your protocol, then we will give you a letter of determination.
When things go wrong, because they might, hopefully they don't,
Hopefully,
but they might.
knock on
Yeah.
wood.
So these are different ways for you to report to the IRB, something that has gone wrong. Whether it's an unanticipated problem, it's a minor deviation, a major deviation, an adverse event. There's a real quick explanation of what those are. And basically for all those type of events, we'll need a project status report. And then in that project status report, you would describe what happened and the steps that you are taking to correct whatever happened. And of course, if we need any more information or additional documents, we'll let you know.
Again, you can scroll down below, and if you don't remember our emails or where we are located, you can just scroll down and you can find our names here. You can also leave a message. If we do not answer, you can send it to our IRB email with UTEP, and someone will answer the questions that you have.
The IRB at utep.edu goes, we have access, we all have access to that email. So there's a much better chance of it getting answered relatively quickly if you use the IRB at utep.edu.
So if you do not happen to remember the review times, again, we would just go to IRB information on our website. You would just scroll down. It will show you the review times for exempt, expedited, and full board. And if you scroll more down, we have a process of how we work and how we review your project. And then we scroll even more down for the person who asked the question about the IRB committee. We do have predicted dates of when committees will happen. Again, we will not vote for it until the next meeting. So we will not vote for the December meeting until November 12th. But December 15th is predicted, but it yet is to be determined.
So this website does have a lot of resources and information on it. Some would say maybe a little too much. But when you're ready to submit or start your research and submit for IRB review, then you can go ahead and take a look at the website. Get familiar with the requirements that you'll need to comply with as a student PI. If you have any questions or anything comes up, by all means, please give us a call or email us at irb@utep.edu. We'll be more than happy to help you out.
Yes. If there's no other questions, we thank you guys for coming.